You are listening to Salty Believer Unscripted, a conversation on Christian ministry and the Christian life.
This is Salty Believer Unscripted. I'm Josiah Walker.
And I'm Brian Catherman.
Salty Believer exists to help the Christian on his Christian journey.
Or her.
Along those lines. Or her.
Or her.
Him,
okay, start over. I threw you off. Start over.
That's fine. Do you want me to start the whole thing over?
Yeah,
here?
man, because you were doing so good. No. Okay, so hi, I'm Brian Catherman, and now, what does Salty Believer exist to do? I got you so off.
We really put unscripted into unscripted. Salty Believer exists for the Christian and the Christian journey. On those lines.
Hey, what are we talking about today?
I want to talk about ministry in the church. So obviously ministry is important to the church, but not every church is the same. Not every church focuses on the same ministry items. Some churches rock certain ministries really well. Others seem to be lacking in certain areas. And I just want to discuss how you maybe decide or determine as a pastor or as a church, really, congregation, what your church is going to do, what kind of ministries they're going to do, and how you kind of prioritize different aspects of the work you're doing.
That is a super good topic, and I think we should probably hit the 30,000 foot view first. You got to go with what God's called you to do. God brings certain things into your reality, and you got to just roll with what God's doing. But I think what you're getting at is more so like where you actually have room to make some decisions. Yeah. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, let's say, you're at a church of maybe 800 people. I'm at a church of about 75, 100 people.
Which is really ironic because you're in a town of like 2.5 million people, and I'm in a town of 5,000 people. Yeah. Anyway,
well, the percentages aren't the same. No. But I'm sure. But I've got people in my church that really are passionate about kids ministry or women's ministry, or hey, we need to do a trunk or treat, or we should do a car show. Or how do you kind of determine what you're going to do when you don't have bandwidth or even the capabilities to do everything?
Yeah, that's actually really good, and that is the reality. There's a stewardship. So I think what a lot of people in churches don't realize is the necessity of the elders or the pastor staff, or however your church is structured, the leadership, to make choices is to be a steward of energy, a steward of time, a steward of money. And as a pastor, you have to steward time, because if I not as much lately, but there's been seasons where there are people really excited about things. And so they will send me the things they're excited about. Oh man, did you see all this great video from such and such, so and so? And you go to click on it. It's like an hour long. I'm like, man, I don't have time. And then you get somebody else sending you another one on a totally separate thing. And one guy loves the Shepherd's Conference, and one guy loves an apologetics conference, and one guy loves videos from so and so, and one guy loves financial ministry resources. And if you as the pastor were to get involved in everybody else's excited ministry things they are excited about, you would have 25 hours a day of doing that.
Sure.
And it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you experienced this, Josiah. Hey, did you see this? And you're I'm glad you saw it, but I don't have time to get involved in all that.
Well, and you're just talking about kind of in the Monday through Saturday, kind of doing your pastoral work throughout the week. But even that, some of that bleeds over into a Sunday morning, where people are involved in different organizations or different ministries that they do outside of, the four walls of your church building. And they maybe want you to highlight their thing on a Sunday morning as part of the announcements, or share that they brought this or done that. You
raise a really good reality. Almost everybody wants the ministry they're involved in, whether it's inside the church or it's an outside ministry or it's something. Right. They want that to be front and center because that's what they're most excited about. So they want you to have an announcement about their thing every single week for a month straight, or they want to make sure that that's prominent and that's prominently featured, and they because that's what we're excited about. And that's great, actually. You want people excited about the ministry you're doing. You want people to, but then as a whole church, you have to recognize, man, if every single ministry did that, what would happen? Right. Well, so if we announced every ministry at this church, the service that we normally take an hour to do would be 2 hours long just to do announcements.
Yeah, no, I'm in a similar boat. Our service is about an hour and 15 minutes, and it'd probably be 2 hours by the time everybody talked and shared their thing. But those things are important. It's not that they're not important.
They are very
important. Or that they
important.
shouldn't be doing those things. So how do you as the pastor kind of filter in, okay, well, we're going to make this a part of our announcements, or this we're going to have to maybe post on our internal communication app, or what do you do there?
So probably I learned a tool, a skill for me through just wrestling with this. It might have been when we were first planting the church. It might have been, I've been using this for a long time, so I can't tell you when I first saw this somewhere and it just was really helpful. It's a tool called Yours, Mine, Ours. Okay, so you have your stuff, yours. So someone comes to me, they bring all their stuff, and I go, okay, well, that's yours. I can clearly see that's something you are excited about. So we need to think about it in terms of should that or should that not become a mine thing? You want me to make it a mine thing for me. And should that or should that not become an ours thing for the church? And then the pastor, if he's really doing his job well, should also be thinking about the things that are in the mine bucket.
Right.
The things in mine bucket need to be exciting for the whole church, because let's just role play this for a minute. Someone comes in and they're very excited about Financial Peace University, right? Or they're very excited about something. Well, maybe that's not the best thing for the whole church. It's not the best thing for that season. We might be doing a lot of things, and if we just do everything that shows up, we overtap the people. So we have to be careful and go, is this something the whole church needs to do? Yes or no? Or let me think of another one. Hey, we have an announcement. It's really important. For those people who are age 72, who are also females, who also have a Dodge Grand Caravan, we need to make an announcement. Well, how many people does that apply to? Now, I'm being obviously silly, but a lot of times you have to go, okay, does this apply to the whole church, a unique segment of the church? Okay, but then the flip side of that coin is I have been reading theology books written by translators because they were originally written in French, and I don't need the whole church to read all that. Or I don't need the whole church to be excited about the Puritans. Or I don't even tell the whole church, listen to my podcast, and here's all this, right? Because those are mine. This Salty Believer Unscripted, Salty Believer, the website, that's mine. That's that's a thing I'm doing on the side. The whole church doesn't even need to know about it, right? So I have to think in those terms. Plus, it can be detrimental. I've known churches before where pastors have thought, well, the best discipleship program is if everybody goes through seminary like I did.
Right.
Well, that's expensive, complicated, right? So you have the people bringing their thing. You have the pastors who could use their pulpit or their leadership to unduly and incorrectly influence the whole church in their own things, which is both of these are selfish. So the leader has to actually have a really good filter and a really good process if he's going to shepherd the church well, to say, okay, which specific things are ours?
Yeah.
What does the church really own? Now, that doesn't mean you can't mention something on the side for something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what's ours? Do we need to own every single issue that everybody's excited about?
Right. Yeah, and that's really helpful too, because I think there are a lot of times where we don't really consider the unintended consequences, or maybe the bigger picture of why churches maybe will include certain things in their announcements and don't include others. And oftentimes we can feel like, well, you're not validating what I am doing, or you don't appreciate what I'm doing, or you don't think it's worthwhile. And that's never the case. It's those metrics of, is this for the whole church? You know, we have ladies events in my church. Those aren't for me. That's not something I'm passionate about. I know it's important, and I know our ladies appreciate it. And so I might mention something for the ladies from the pulpit, even though it doesn't apply to the whole church. But I might not mention something like a niche Puritan group where they're going through John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress. That might be something that just is posted on our internal communication app where somebody says, hey, I'm leading this book study at my home on Tuesday nights. If you want to come on out, that kind of thing.
Well, so I got this going on a little bit. It is interesting. This comes out a lot in mission work. Where you choose to send the church on mission, where you choose to give your funds. Where do we just give funds to my cousin Bob because he's related to me? Do we actually have a strategic plan? Do we choose to go to every place on the planet, or do we have to focus this because we only have a select amount of time and a select amount of resources? And so we're making a lot of effort to create a pipeline to Utah. And there's lots of other places we could go around the country, but we gotta choose what to say no to so we can say yes to things. We're working toward kind of a regional ministry to a lot of there's a lot of different refugees, and there's a lot of different ministry going on, and we're really working heavily into that, which is interesting. And then we haven't really landed on some place around the world, but God's opening doors. So there's this interesting opportunity possibly in Kenya, and we have a guy in our church who's got connections with Africa. So that kind of rules out South America. Right. But if we just said every country in the world is important to us and every place in the world, then actually really we're not putting any energy into anything. So I realize, again, this is one illustration, but this is true when it's game night, kids thing, Bob needs help with car maintenance. So and so is moving. Like,
Yeah.
same thing.
No,
Yours, mine,
because
ours.
just like you don't have the bandwidth to help everybody with everything, everyone else doesn't have the bandwidth to help all their friends with all the things they're passionate about. So praise God that He's installed in us different passions, different desires, so that we have a group of people that wants to go on mission, wants to serve and go on a mission trip. But we also have a group of people that want to stay home and really pray for those people, or maybe even financially support those people so they can go on mission, or do evangelism in the community so that more people come into the church, right? If we
And
were all passionate about the same thing, we'd only go in one direction.
that's the whole body, many parts. Jesus is the
Yeah.
head picture, but you still have to shepherd and steward and lead well in that,
Well,
which is
and
helpful.
along those lines too, I think sometimes we don't realize either that sometimes you might have a good idea, you might have a great ministry that would be really beneficial to the church, but the timing is off. And so this is
Yes.
something where the pastor might go, yes, we should do that, but I don't think the church is ready for that. Let's prepare them for it. So maybe the church really, somebody in the church really wants to help serve food at the homeless shelter. And they're like, hey man, we just really need to get behind serving.
Everybody must come with me.
Right. But you might say, well, the church really needs to understand the why behind that. And so maybe we should preach into that and teach into that a little bit and share why that's important through a sermon series. And maybe that's something we re-examine a year from now.
Well, so I think this is a fun little insight that most people don't get to see. I think every pastor has probably at some point experienced this. Someone that they know gets really excited about certain videos, certain conferences, missions, homeless, whatever, you know, something. They're really excited about that, and they start sending the pastor videos and conferences they should go to, and this thing and that thing. And what I really want to do, I have yet to really do this. I've done it a little bit, but I should send you, while you're sending me everything you're excited about, all the stuff I'm working on today. And all the books I have to read in preparation for the sermon. You should read this chapter and you should do this. And that person doesn't have time to do all the things they're excited about and all the things I'm dealing with, just like I don't have time to do all the things that they're excited about and all the things I'm dealing with, which is why it just doesn't work well that way. The hardest part, though, is that the church, Christians, need to understand how important it is that we recognize the hours piece.
Yeah.
This is what the church is really behind. And then be humbly okay to go, well, I didn't get my thing showcased from the pastor. Or humbly okay to say, wow, I still get a run in the things that I'm excited about. However, be okay that the church has a whole church holistic ministry as well. Yours, mine, ours. We just don't think about this very much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we put too much weight into something just being announced from the pulpit. And we think, well, if it's announced from the pulpit, then it'll be important. The whole church will get behind it. And I've had people
Okay,
actually,
hold on. I want to hear the story, but I want to ask you a question. How many times, Josiah, how many times have you announced something from the pulpit, and when the service is over, someone says, hey, I didn't know about that?
I received a phone call this month from somebody who was running late to church, so they weren't there when I did the announcements at the beginning of the service, and called me and said, hey, is such and such happening today? And I said, yes, it is.
Okay, so you
No.
you were going to tell a story or something.
No, I was just going to share that, I've had someone actually, unfortunately, leave my church. And I think a big reason for that was because I didn't announce their thing that they were a part of that was in outside of church ministry from the pulpit. But what they failed to understand was they would have got more buy-in and had more people really help them with that event had they gone around and talked to their friends and said, hey, I really love this. I'm really passionate about this. Would you consider partnering with me in this ministry item? And I think they would have just seen more progress that way because they would have had people who are their friends, who care about them, who maybe have similar interests and are passionate about the same things they are. Where when you sometimes announce things from the pulpit, some of that just comes out as white noise. As we're getting settled in our pew and we're getting our Bibles out and just getting situated for the service, there's just lots of different ways to kind of communicate things to the church.
I think some of it comes back to what you said earlier, that people feel like they need that to be validated.
Right.
So maybe as pastors, one of the things we could do better is to say, hey, that's a really great ministry you've brought to my attention, or hey, I love the church is doing this, but just being able to communicate kind of that yours, mine, ours idea, like the whole church is going in X direction, and that's a good thing that comes alongside that, but isn't the best thing You know, we have a very limited amount of space in a bulletin, for example. You only get
Sure.
so much space. We have a very limited amount of time in a service, and we don't want to give it all to those things. I've gone to churches where the last 15 minutes has just been filled with every announcement.
Sure.
And then you forgot what the sermon was about. And so, like, I think we really got to teach into this better as pastors. And I think when the church understands, wow, this is what we're doing. It's the same in my home with my kids. Like I don't have a family meeting. Okay, family meeting. All the kids need to show up so we can talk about this one thing my one child is dealing with how they're not doing their chores right. No one wants that, right?
Yeah.
So it's just
No.
that.
And I think it's important too, like you said, we need to really validate that we appreciate that these people are passionate and they're coming to us with ideas and suggestions, because you don't have time to do everything.
No.
I mean, you're weak, you're counseling people, you're discipling brothers, you're training up other pastors, you're preparing a sermon, you're leading a staff meeting, or maybe taking care of some bills for the church, and dealing with your own personal stuff outside of that. And so praise God that he's put these passions in people. Praise God that they're coming to us and saying, hey, I want to lead a trunk or treat, or I want to do some outreach, or I want to help in kids ministry, or I want to create a senior luncheon where all our senior saints can get together and share a meal together, because we need these people to do ministry both inside and outside the church.
That's exactly right. Amen.
Just because we're not able to announce everything from the pulpit doesn't mean it's not important or that we don't value their desire to do and serve in the church.
That's right. Yep. And sometimes the announcements don't line up well with what you're doing in the service. And so these decisions are not easy. Well, this is good. This is good. This doesn't line up well. We got to just move it to another time or do something else. Right.
So if you're a pastor and you're listening to this podcast, consider that. Make sure you're giving validation of encouraging your church to step up and lead and serve in ministry. And if you're someone who's a church member who's maybe felt frustrated because you didn't feel like you got the validation you really wanted from your pastor, or that the church isn't getting behind your ministry the way you wanted, hopefully this shows you that a little behind the curtain of all the different aspects of the reasons why and how and what we announce and share on a Sunday morning, or in the bulletin, or on our church apps and so forth.
Yeah, you got one more little piece for the church member. Like, you want people to really plug into the things you're excited about, yours pieces, the pieces you would hold as mine, right? But ask yourself, do you get excited about other people's minds? How often are you jumping in on their stuff, and how often are you coming along? Because that can be a good measure of, I just want it to be about me. I want all the church to sing the songs I like. I want all the church to do the ministries I'm involved in. I know people who will not participate in ministries unless they're the leader of the ministry. And that's a really interesting little tattletale of where your heart is. And so are you jumping in on the things that are ours, or do you just want everybody else to jump on the things that are yours?
Sure.
Right. I mean, just a really healthy way to sort of examine the things that you're participating in and that you're interested in, that you want other people to participate in.
I don't think you're ever going to find a church that does everything exactly the way you want it. Even pastors don't always pastor a church that does everything exactly how they want it.
Almost never, unless they pastor a church of one. Right?
One person, and it's just them. And so you're never going to find that. But some of our greatest ministries are started by people who are passionate about it, who own it, and just do it well. And so along those lines, I just want to end with this verse from Acts 2:42. It's talking about the apostles, and it says, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to the prayer. And that's the church, just devoting themselves to ministry and the work and the gospel. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Salty Believer Unscripted is a production of SaltyBeliever.com. Visit the website to find more resources like the podcast you've just listened to.